Sorry for the voiceover here everyone, I completely forgot to film my intro. So I was supposed to film with a full face of makeup introducing this video to you, telling you I will now apply this full set of makeup with my favourites from 2024. So the following video, which you're about to watch now, is me trying on every single thing that I've absolutely loved. So these are my #1 makeup products of the entire year, the ones I can't put down, the ones that have not left my top drawer or my desk all year. These are the absolute best and I cannot wait to show you. Apologies again for this voiceover and hope you enjoy the video. Starting with a favourite from the whole of last year and this year, it's my Delilah Lip Saviour. So you're probably bored of hearing about this one, but this is how I start every single look, and this is how my lips always look that little bit better. My lips, but better, that pop of colour. But most importantly, the hydration I need before I put on any of my makeup. So I don't see this as my #1 lip oil, it's my #1 lip product for starting my look every single day of the year, and I love it. And straight to another Delilah product. I'm actually on my second tube of this. This launched earlier this year, and this is the Radiant Eye Perfector. So if, like me, you have problems with your concealer not sitting very nicely in the corner of your eye, this is how this looks. A little bit of this underneath both of the eyes will really help make concealers that even concealers that cause you problems, they sit better. And sometimes I forget to put this on, and every time I know about it. So I cannot be without this. It's been a really good addition and I love it. So I'll put my discount code below while I remember now actually, 22% off Delilah. But these two products, staples, absolute hero products. And another one that was in my 2023 video was this from Victoria Beckham, the Waterline Eye Brightening Pencil. Almost every single day of the year I put this in. I say almost because sometimes I do put different colours in the Waterline. But sometimes I start with this and I'm quite happy to add another colour on top, and it almost works better and makes the colour pop more. So I still usually use this even when I'm putting another colour on top, because it gives you a sort of blank canvas in the same way that when you do your eyeshadow and things, you like to have that clear canvas to start with. So it does give you that too, but for me, most importantly on a daily, this is just giving my eyes that bright, more fresh, alive look. So for eyebrows, I've gone through a lot of different products this year, but I've pretty much settled on a few products now that I am stuck with and I do not want to change. So my favourite gel is the Anastasia Brow Freeze Gel. So this is a clear gel. It's really strong. I would say favourite, but I use the Rare Beauty one almost as much. Just I probably used this one a little bit more this year. So this one or the Rare Beauty is absolutely fine for me. So I just take the gel all the way through the brows before I style them. Just brush them up. So this product leaves no white flakes and it will keep them in place all day long. And whilst that's drying down, I go in with my primer, which for most of the year has still been the Bobbi Brown Face Base, which I love, and it's my #1. But I have tried one new one this year, which hasn't replaced it, but if I can't or don't want to use the Bobbi Brown for any reason, this would be my second choice. So I'm going to show you this one, seeing as it is a new release, and this is the Merit Great Skin, and this is the Priming Moisturiser. So I like this Merit one in the same way that I like the Bobbi Brown Face Base, and that's because it's giving me that moisture, that moisturising base, which for me is what really makes things work. And it's really helped with reducing any sort of caking issues when I just stick with with primers like this. So I don't like the smell of this. It's almost got a strong scent of plain soap, you know, the sort of smell you get with a soap. So I don't like the smell of it, but it does disappear quite quickly. And this one dries down with less sort of tackiness compared to the Bobbi Brown. So if you're looking for more of a quick dry down and a less thick base, this one is better from that respect. I do find sometimes with the Bobbi Brown, I can apply quite quickly on top of it, but I do find that I end up using a lot of powder because I feel like the moisture is sort of seeping through my makeup. It doesn't tend to affect my makeup, I just don't like the feel of any tackiness on my skin. So when I use Bobbi Brown, I do tend to go in with more powder, whereas with the Merit I need a bit less. So that's the only real difference. Now, I'm not applying this today, but I definitely want to show you this primer as well, which I discovered this year, and you can see I used quite a bit of this one. This is the Danessa the Yummy Skin, the Water Powder Serum. Now this stuff is magic, but I haven't used it as much since switching to the moisturising bases because I've stopped having so much of a problem with an oily T-zone for some reason. I don't know if that's, I can't explain it because my skin seems to change all the time. So maybe as the seasons change and we start moving into spring, that problem might return, I don't know. But when I do have problems with oils, this is absolutely perfect. It's just a very, very watery serum as it suggests, but it dries down like a powder very, very quickly. And I put this into my T-zone, so you just can't see it at all. It's quite a refreshing feeling as well. And the way I apply that is to just tap it into the T-zone area, and that will really, really lock in any oils better than anything I've ever tried before. And it never disturbs my makeup. Everything sits on top of it really well. I think this is the best product I've ever tried for controlling the oils. So highly, highly recommend this one. But I just don't need it at the moment, so I'll keep it there when I do. So hopefully my brows are dry enough now, so I'm going to go in with a pencil. This is the Brow Wiz from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and I've got this in soft brown. So this is an oldie but a goodie, isn't it? I've gone through quite a few different pencils this year, including the new one from Merit, which was extremely similar to this, but I managed to get through it in about a month. So I loved the new one from Merit, but boy did I get through it. Whereas this one, I actually got this one free with a purchase from ABH. It's a mini one and it's still going, and I've been using it since the summer. So that'll give you an idea. My freebie is still going. Whereas the Merit one, I whizzed through it in 1 month. So this, I think this colour is pretty much perfect for my brows. Although now that I've darkened my hair, I do need to be a little bit darker in the brow area, but I do feel quite strange when I have dark brows. But anyway, I use the pencil to just sort of outline rather than fill. And now I've gone back to a product I actually stopped using and I'm now loving again, and that is the NYX, I can't open it because I've got moisturiser all over me, the NYX Brow Pen. And I've got this one in the shade Caramel, which suits my complexion now, but when I was lighter I was using the shade Blonde. So I just go in with this now, where I don't really have much in the way of eyebrow hair here, just creating a few flicks, and then basically starting to go through the sort of natural hairline. So it just emphasises them, but it also adds a few very sort of, it's more natural, I think, than using the pen or using a tinted brow gel. I have used tinted brow gels this year, but I do feel that gives you a little bit more of a sort of stamped on brow look, whereas using this gives you a more natural look. So that's been my favourite way to do my brows this year. And to finish them off, I stopped using concealer this year underneath the brows, and I always use this. I just find it so easy. This is the Makeup Forever. This is brow, lip and eyeliner, I believe, but this is in the shade Bisque, wait a minute, Boundless Bisque. I was going to say Bisqueless Bound. Boundless Bisque. So I run this under the brow here. That's Florrie shouting at people outside. We've got another storm warning here in Wales today, so it's blowing a gale outside. And everything, all our Christmas decorations have been knocked down. Wales has really suffered with the weather recently. We've had flash floods a few days ago. A lot of damage from winds and rain, so it's been a bit of a nightmare. Anyway, so this is Boundless Bisque underneath the brow, and then I use my BK Beauty 207 brush. Probably my most used brush this, I use it for so many things. And then just blend it out. And if I feel like the line of my brow is not quite neat enough, with the little bit left on the brush from doing this, I'll go around the edges there, but I'm quite happy with it today actually. I don't really want to, but it's a good way of sort of fixing the edges if you're not happy. So now foundation, and my favourite foundation of the year. I have really enjoyed, it's sitting on my desk now, the Gucci Cushion Foundation. I've also loved the Lisa Eldridge skin tint. That's my #1 skin tint quite easily. And if I was going to choose a powder, it'd probably be the Natasha Denona powder foundation. Not my favourite out of all powder foundations, but my favourite from this year. But my favourite type of foundation to use is usually more standard cream or stick. So, well, not necessarily stick, but this one is cream and it is a stick, and that is the Dior. So this is my #1 foundation of the year. This is the one I've used the most. This is the one I've loved the most, and I always feel this gives me the most perfected finish. So I've got this one in the shade 1N, and you've probably heard me talk about this rather a lot here on my channel. I absolutely adore this. And when it comes to brushes, I've probably used the Refa brush the most this year, but I've started to really love this one from Wayne Goss. This is the Wayne Goss Christmas release, and this has got to be the quickest way to apply foundation, this brush, and it applies it so quickly and evenly. I absolutely love it. So I started the year using the BK Beauty 101 all the time brush wise for foundation. And then we got the new version of the Refa, the B04. I'd say that's my favourite. But at the moment, I don't really want to pick anything up because I love this. It is very clumpy, I suppose, for getting around the brows, but I can do it. And if I wanted to, I can go down to the smaller one, which works equally well, to go around the brows. So this foundation is pretty lightweight and it doesn't give a huge amount of coverage, but you can build it up more. For me, that's just the right amount. That's all I want, but it could be built up a bit more. It gives you quite a glowy finish. It gives you a very natural finish, and it lasts all day, and you just look great all day every time you look in the mirror. I absolutely love this. And I don't usually use colour correctors all that much, but I have been dipping into this one from Bobbi Brown quite a lot lately, so I'll just put a bit of this one on. This is in the shade Light Bisque, so I just tap a little bit here where I've got a bit of darkness, which has been a little bit more evident because of this cold I've got, which is actually sounding a bit better today, even though last night was a disaster getting temperatures and things. It's been a bit of a nightmare, but anyway, this helps disguise being ill and get rid of any darkness. I love it actually, and I have been using this all over the eyelids as well. I think it really nicely corrects all of the purple in my eyelids, but I'm going to use something else for that today, so I won't do that today. And now I'm going to go in with contour. So my #1 contour is quite easily the Dior contour, and this one is in the shade Light. I think this is the most perfect cool tone shade of contour I have ever come across. Just yesterday I got my hands on the new Charlotte Tilbury wand in Light, in Fair, and that one is nearly as perfect, but I need to try them side by side, but I still think this one is probably going to be my #1. I'm going in with the Wayne Goss brush again, the smaller one though, not the one I use for the foundation. Look how quickly this blends out, but the brush does really help as well, it's so good. BK Beauty N14 brush now to take the contour down the sides of the nose. I don't always go in with a cream bronzer at this stage, but today I'm going to show you all of my favourites, so I'm going to put them all on. I don't know how they'll look together. I wouldn't necessarily put all of them on together, but my favourite cream bronzer, not a new one from this year, but this is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Bronzer. I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury brush, and this is in the shade Fair. So it's new to me in the shade Fair because last year I had the next shade up and it just wasn't quite so perfect. It was a bit yellow, but the Fair shade is just perfect as that sort of cool tone bronze. It really is, and it blends in seconds, very much like the contour stick from Dior. It's incredibly quick and easy to apply, as you can see. And now liquid blush. My favourite liquid blush of the year, quite easily actually, was the Armani Luminous Silk. I love these. My favourite one was actually the hot pink, but I thought because I'm doing more of a sort of wintry shade look today, I'm going to go with this shade. This one is number 62. Now I'm not going to apply an awful lot of this because I am going to be going over it with a blush. Like I said, I'm showing you lots of my favourites in this video, so I do sometimes like to put cream bronzer and cream clear, oh my goodness, and cream blush underneath powders. It's a really good way of locking in a bit of colour. But I do want to put on quite a bit of powder bronzer to show you later, so I don't want too much coming through. So at the moment this is giving you more of a no makeup look, I suppose, a more natural look. But can you see how quickly and easily that blends out? I'll put a tiny bit more. I say tiny bit and then I go and do a big swipe. Oh well, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm using the Mario F4 brush. This brush as well, new to me this year and one of my most used brushes of the year. Absolutely love it. I got this mostly for going on holiday, thinking it would be really handy to use the thick end for foundation and this end for contour, bronze and blush, which it worked well for actually. I did use it for all of those. But I use this as an alternative rather, to the 109, the BK Beauty 109. I think they're very, very similar. Look how beautifully this blends out. Now I've tested out I think every liquid blush that's been popular this year. And this one is my easy favourite. I love it. But if I was going to show you my favourite cream blush, it would be the ones from Rouge. I love those as well. So I've gone for my favourite liquid today, but my favourite cream would be the ones from Rouge. I really, really love those. But they would also be very closely tied with the Chanel. I love the Chanel cream to powder. That could easily be the one that goes on top of this. If I put powder now and then I would go in with the blush, the Chanel cream to powder would look perfect. That's not my top pick, but it probably would be my second for a top blush. You could also have used that now as your sort of cream finish, but like I said, it's a very different way it sets, that one, the Chanel. So now I'm going to go in with concealer. Actually, before I do that, instead of putting concealer or corrector on the eyes like I said I would, I'm going to show you something that has become a favourite, but I don't use it enough actually, and that is the Lisa Eldridge, the matte liquid eyes. And the way that I use these, my hair is all coming down and sticking to my face. The way that I use these is as a setting sort of base, really. So when I went to Croatia, I meant to film how I did all this, but I just never got time to do it. I used this every single day as my base, and it really, really, really did lock in my eyeshadow on top for the whole day. So this one is the shade Irene, which I think is probably the best shade for me to use as something that cancels out my purple on my lid, and also forms a pretty good base for almost any eyeshadow look. So this was really, really tested out for me in Croatia because I was walking around in the heat a lot and getting myself very hot and bothered. We were also caught in the rain a lot, but this really, really did help to keep it in. Now you've seen how quickly that blended out as well. So obviously this is a lovely eyeshadow base, but I would probably go for some of the darker shades if I was going to use it more as an eye look. And you can just go over it with maybe a little bit of a topper and you've got yourself an eye look done that fast. Look how fast that is. It's such an even coat as well. I love these. They are absolutely stunning and they are the best. I love the Armani ones, but I think I prefer these now. So onto concealer. Now I can't give you a number one here for two reasons. I did do my top 5 concealers and my number 1 was Westman Atelier and my number 2 was the Yummy Skin. But the reason I can't give you a number 1 here is because Westman Atelier just doesn't have as many shades. That's my reason for saying it's not quite as good as the Danessa Myricks. If the Westman Atelier had more shades, it would beat it. So that's the only thing. So I'm going to put one either side and you can choose which one you prefer. So this is the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Concealer, and this one is in the shade 1, so it's the lightest. I'm literally going to do half like I said, so I'll do a little bit on the nose there and also some here around the nose. That's about it really, I don't want any more than that. And then the Danessa Myricks, the Yummy Skin, I've got this one in the shade 2. This is the Lift and Flex. Now the reason I love these both so much is that they just absorb so beautifully into the skin. They give me all the coverage I need. They also give me the brightening I need. They're not too yellow, the colours are very good. Even though I would say that even though this is only shade 2 of Danessa Myricks and you can go down a bit, it's still a little bit lighter than the Westman Atelier. If you can see there, the Westman Atelier is a little bit more warm. So it really does need more shades. It needs more shades that go below this, and it certainly needs more that go above so that everyone can get their right shade. But oh, I didn't put any by there, did I? Both of these formulas are fabulous. So I'll use my number 1 concealer brush of the year, and this is the one from Rapha, the BO2. I do actually have the new ones on the way, but I do believe the concealer brush replacing BO2 is exactly the same, apart from the colours of the bristles. So I'm just basically going to have a backup when I get that kit. So you can see this shade here from Westman Atelier is brightening under the eye quite nicely, which is something I do like. Now this works very well now if I swept it over the eye, but obviously I've not done that because I've shown you the Lisa Eldridge. But it just absorbs very nicely into the skin, especially here where I have lots of problems. I'm taking the Wayne Goss brush now to do the rest of the face. It just blends out extremely easily, and I've also found with the Westman Atelier it doesn't need to be set down, it can be left. I prefer to set it, I think it looks better, but it can be left. So going on this side, I'm going to use my other favourite concealer brush, but Rapha has definitely replaced this, and this is the A506, the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy. I didn't think this could be replaced, but it has been replaced. When I first started using the Rapha, it's funny, I didn't like it as much as this, because this one is a bit softer, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to like it as much. But then I persisted, and now I prefer the Rapha. I think it's a better shape for fitting into that area. It's just a little bit smaller, if you can see there. Not much in it, but it just fits into this area here better, more snugly. And I think being a little bit more dense, I feel like it actually packs everything in a bit more quickly. I have to work a little bit longer with this one, but there's really not much in it at all. They are both fantastic, so one or the other is very, very good. So the coverage with the Danessa Myricks is a little bit less. I think I've got more coverage from the Westman Atelier. A little goes a very, very long way with that Westman Atelier. So you need a tiny bit more with the Danessa Myricks. But when you see them side by side, how do you choose? I think they both look fabulous actually. And now I've done this again. I think I have done this once before. But now I've done this again. I'm going to have to give the winner, I think, to Danessa Myricks because the shade range is so much better. They both look perfect. Love them. What do you think? So now on to setting powders. So this year has been the year of hunting for something to replace the beautiful Givenchy powder, and I basically replaced it most of the year with the pressed powder from Givenchy in the shade 1, which doesn't have the shimmer in it. So you can see just how much I've been using this one. I got this around March, and well, you can see I've used this the most, but I'm not going to give it my favourite because I think this is probably a little bit more perfect. I think using the pressed powder is just that bit easier, but if I can, well, let me just show you. You decide, because I've shown you the Givenchy so many times. This is the Tarte Creaseless powder in the shade Lavender, described as a setting and brightening powder, and this little puff actually comes with it, which I find really good for under the eye. So I tap off now underneath the eye, go back in with my brush just to make sure that everything is set down there. I don't need to brighten too much because the concealer's done that quite well, but this is so smoothing. When it says creaseless, that's exactly what it gives you. I don't particularly need to set the Lisa Eldridge, but I'm going to, just to give myself a totally secure eye look. But look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at the way it sets. I'm going to have to apologise now for the noise and the banging. My husband is having an emergency freezer de-icing session. We've got a big order coming for Christmas Day. Lots and lots of frozen food. And our freezer is totally frozen over. Our spare freezer. We've got a spare freezer for when we spill over. And we have spilled over a little bit too much for the Christmas shopping. And we don't know where any of it's going to go. So he's banging away in the garage right now. So apologies for that. I can't stop him. He's very stressed about it. We've got our final Christmas shop being delivered today at 4 p.m. It's currently 12 p.m. so he's got 4 hours to get it ready. So this powder is my favourite setting powder for brightening under the eyes. I love the shade of it. I think in reality the reason the Givenchy's always been a favourite is because it has those mixture of shades. This one I just showed you now, which is my favourite, is shade 1, but it does have this lavender in it, and this has always been such a good brightening option. Shade 3 in the loose powder was my absolute favourite with Givenchy. But anyway, the other powder I've tried, which works beautifully under the eyes and all over the face, but I don't use it under the eyes because of the shade, but that is the Makeup by Mario setting powder. So this has become the best loose setting powder of the year and in my collection now. It's my number 1. I think if you look at the actual jar here, you'll get an idea of how much I've used this. I'm at least halfway through. And it only launched quite recently, so I've used it so much. And I've also used it with the Mario puff. I love this puff. I know a puff is just a puff, but this one is just somehow softer and it's just a bit bigger. But anyway, this is the lightest shade in the Mario setting powder, and it's just a little bit too yellow for under the eye. So I really hope Mario comes out with another one so we can have a slightly more perfect shade. But for the rest of my face, it is perfect, and this blurs and sets. It's a little bit heavier, I think, than the Givenchy, but when I say heavy, it's setting more heavily, if you know what I mean. I'm using less of it though, which is good. It doesn't feel heavy, but it is certainly a stronger finish, I think. But it's exceptionally blurring and I absolutely love it. I've tested out nearly every setting powder. I've been on such a mission to try to find an alternative for that Givenchy. So this is my full face set with the Mario. It is so perfecting, so beautiful. I love it. Just please, Mario, come out with something that's a bit more brightening. This works beautifully under the eyes. It's one of the few loose powders that works brilliantly under the eyes and over the whole of the face, but it's just too yellow for me and not brightening enough for my complexion. The shade of this, the lightest shade, is actually fair pink, but I just don't think it looks very pink. If I show you closer up there, it's not a very pinky powder by any means. Not in the way the lavender was. I just got it all on my face then. If you saw the lavender, that was a real lavender, a true lavender, but you don't see a sort of true pink in this setting powder. And now for powder bronzer. So my favourite has been this year, this one from Lancome. I've got this one in the shade Light 2, and this is very, very closely tied with the YSL in shade 2, very closely. I sort of alternate between the two. But if I had to pick the one I've used the most this year, it would be this one. So I'm using the Refa 22 brush. I'm tapping this around the edge of the forehead and then just bringing it around the cheeks. This has also been my favourite bronzer brush of the year, the Refa 22. Since I started using it for bronzer, I haven't really used anything else. I love it. I think it's perfect, and I love having a big brush for bronzer, and I love to just tap it. I don't like sweeping it. I think sweeping can disturb what's underneath a little bit, but also can apply it, I don't know, you sort of place it in one area and then sweep up, and then you end up with an uneven distribution, I think, whereas tapping it, it sort of distributes it more evenly and gives a more natural finish. But yeah, this bronzer is beautiful. It's a nice cool tone bronzer. We don't get many of those, and I certainly need a cool tone bronzer. This gives me quite a bit of colour. Certainly enough for me. I definitely don't need any more than that, but I just love the shade of this. So that's the Lancome 2. So now onto blush. I could very, very easily have gone for the Chanel, as I said, the new powder, cream to powder. They are a very close second, but I've really enjoyed these two from Dior. So I'm going to show you them, and I love using them together. I don't know if this is something I've shown you here. I've definitely done it on my shorts. But anyway, these two together have been one of my favourite blush duos. So this one is the Wild Dior number 757, the Blush and Glow, and this one is number 287, Dioramour. So the way I like to do this is I'll take my new favourite blush brush from Refa. It's not necessarily a blush brush, you can use this for powders and things, but I love it for that. So this is the highlight. So I'm going into this really pale pink, and this won't show up much at all. Now this on its own is perfect for a very sort of light spring look, I would say. And almost no makeup blush for me, but it does show up and it's very pretty. It just shows up. So I'm taking this sort of corner of the eye, in the whole area I want my blush. So now for a light spring look, I would probably leave it here and go in with the highlight, but I'm going for more of a wintry look, and that's where I love this duo. So this one is a plum shade. I need a lot less of this on the brush. And I'm going to take this in the sort of upper part of the cheek here. And even though it is so pigmented, when you look at it in the pan, it's not scary at all on fair skin, this. And I just love this duo, because I wouldn't want a rich shade like that so much here. That's why I like to start off with that light pink there, and then put this plum here towards the top and bring it up and bring it right across the brow. That sort of plum finish. I think that is so beautiful. I love it. Now I would go in with the highlighter. I'd choose the lilac highlighter now to go across here, but I'm going to show you my favourite highlighter of the year, so I won't do that. But I wouldn't reach for another highlighter when I'm using this duo. I would definitely go with that. But obviously I want to try and pack in all my favourites for this video, so I'm not doing that. But here we have the Wild Dior and Dioramour ombre effect on both cheeks, and I love it. And you might be surprised that I didn't use my absolute winner for the summer and spring, which was this one from Fenty, the Baked Peach. This is still an absolute winner for me, but I do think this one's a little bit more limited to seasons. I don't think this works for me in autumn, maybe autumn, but not so much winter. So that's why I haven't used it, but this would be my choice for that period. Whereas the ones I've shown you now, that lighter pink is a sort of spring, summer, and bringing in the plum brings it into autumn, winter. So with those two blushes, I've got all year round covered. This one is definitely more of a spring, summer, but this is my absolute favourite for the year from Fenty. Absolutely obsessed with this one I was. So for highlight, the most expensive product I'm probably showing you today, and it's this one from HERMES. This one is just beautiful. The Plein Air Faubourg limited edition face and eye illuminating powder. This is a rose gold, and this just gives the most gorgeous finish. There's no glitter, there's no sort of metallic, there's no grey. It's got such a natural way of sitting on the skin. But you get that hint of rose gold. Every time I put it on, straight away I just think my complexion looks so lovely. I just adore this. I really, really do. I think there's a reason this one costs so much, because nothing I've ever used in a highlighter has ever quite had the effect on me that this one has. I adore the one from Chanel. From last year, my favourite was the Matte Chanel. The white, pearly white, I think it was called. Is that right? I can't even remember the name off the top of my head. And this year, the diamond one from Chanel. I love that. That's a close second. I love how pretty that is. But that one you can really see a little bit more of sort of pinky shimmer. And I think I have to be a little bit more careful with the Chanel one with what I'm using it with. Whereas this, I feel, goes with everything. And I think this one gives the most elegant finish. Look at that. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous shine. And every time I've looked back at a video of me trying this on, I still don't think it does it justice. I think you need to try this on. So if you get the opportunity to try this in store, I highly recommend it, because it is more impressive when you actually see it in the flesh than I cannot get it across on video just how gorgeous it is. But it is, trust me. So now I'm going to move on to eyes. And I'm going to use an eyeliner in the Waterline. So as I said earlier, I can do that on top of the Victoria Beckham. This is one I've really loved this year, and it's gone with a lot of looks for the sort of winter Christmas period. This is YSL Lines Liberated, This is the gold shade. I'm not sure the actual name, but they launched a number of colours. I love the green. I got the green, the blue, an orange, and I got this gold. And I've used all of them repeatedly. I really like them. So I'm just running this gold into the waterline, and you can see how even with the white underneath, it sort of pops a bit more, I think. Now these haven't replaced my Victoria Beckham liners. I still prefer Victoria Beckham, but I very much enjoy these ones from YSL. So these were the 4 shades I picked up. I've got them right here on the desk. They are beautiful. This one particularly good for autumn. I've used the blue and the green regularly for different looks, and the gold for the waterline I've used so many times. And they last, they're extremely long lasting, but they're also buildable and creamy. They don't tug on the skin at all, so I really, really enjoy those. So now I'm going to go in with my favourite eyeshadow. Now if you just saw my top eyeshadows of the year, my top 20, my number 1 was the Natasha Denona Golden palette, and my number 2 was the Tom Ford Black Diamond. And I'm actually going to use this as my favourite today because this serves 2 purposes for me, which the golden one from Natasha doesn't. I pull that out when I want a golden look. This one I pull out when I want a fabulous, elegant, gorgeous look, ready for any party, but also ready for day to day. It serves both purposes. I pull it out anytime I need to correct my makeup because I think it needs to be softened at the edges by using this, which is the most perfect shade ever. I pull it out when I don't have the right sort of topper and I want something that gives me the perfect topper, because this is the perfect topper. I pull this out when I want the perfect brown liner, if I want to use a powder liner, because it has that. And I also pull this out when I want to deepen my outer V with the perfect sort of brown, and here it is. This is just perfection for me. I've dipped into it so much. So I think this has to be my most used palette of the entire year. So Golden palette maybe was the one I did the most different looks with, but this is the one I've used in different ways the most. So I'm giving this first place today, and I'm going to put this on. So with my reference number 1, I'm going to start with this brown here. So this is a shimmer, but it works nicely as a sort of transition. And as I said, I often use this shade when I just want a little pop of depth, but I'm actually going to start with it today. I could have started with that cream base, but I'm starting with this, and I'm going to see how I get on with that. And I'm actually going to take this over the whole of my lid. And I'm taking it underneath with the reference number 3 brush. So you can see that this shade works really well, even though it's a shimmer. It's not too shimmery, and it's perfect on mature skin. It's not emphasising any lines at all for a shimmer. And you can also probably see here that this works really, really nicely as a sort of one and done, very basic look. So you could really go in with a bit of brown liner now, or even skip the brown liner, just mascara, and off you go. That's a very simple one and done shade. I'm actually regretting putting the gold liner in that I showed you though. When I planned this video, I was on the fence about using the golden palette, which is probably why I put it in my list, and I've just gone ahead and put it on my eyes. I don't think it's going to work for this look. I've got my Victoria Beckham in Cinnamon. I'm going to run this over the gold to try and make this a little bit more cohesive with the eye look. Now going back in with this brown shimmer and making sure that it's actually sitting completely above my crease, so it's totally visible, leaving a little tiny gap between the brow and this shade. So I've got a very, very comprehensive base now of this brown, which I think is just the perfect sort of brown. And probably my favourite brush of the year for doing this, the Eyeshadow 03 from Refa. I'm going to take a little bit of this dark one, which I will be using as a liner, but I'm going to just slightly deepen up here with this. The Eyeshadow is very good at just picking up a little bit. Can you see how, even though it's such a deep colour, this brush has just picked up a tiny bit on these fine ends. So I can add a little bit of depth without having too much and getting into any sort of bother. And using this new brush from Sonia G, the pencil brush, I love this one lately for lining. I'm going to go into exactly the same colour. And now take this to more tightly line just a little bit underneath here. I'll take it sort of this far, and then bring it up for a little bit of a wing there. And then you can just see here how this shade is so perfect as a liner shade. So you can see why I've dipped into this to use it as a liner shade for various looks. So back in with the Refa number 1 now, just to go back over and sort of smudge the line a bit here. And now for the most perfect inner corner I've ever tried in my life, using the BK Beauty 207. Look at this pop of brightness. Absolute perfection. I adore this. I think it is so perfect. And it's not just the shades in this that's perfect, it's the way that these are just, they sit so beautifully, they blend so beautifully. I'm taking it into the brow. So complementary to my skin, they're just perfect. And the way I love to use this as well is if I want to just neaten up here, if a little bit of darkness has travelled down from the deeper eyeshadow, and you can just really neaten it up using the powder there. And then also go around the very top here of the darker shadow and just really blend it and smooth it out here. And now for that magic finishing touch, going in with this beautiful, beautiful topper. And I'm going to start by showing you how this would look if you just put a pop of this in the middle. Look at it, it is so gorgeous. But I'm actually taking this over the whole of the lid. I want the full sparkle effect today. And I think this is the best topper ever. I think it is absolutely stunning. So now moving on to mascara. So curling my lashes, which I always do first, and this is the Refa lash curler, which I've used since I got it earlier this year and love. I've also been using the Dior lash primer because I do have extremely pathetic lashes, and if I use this I get much better results with my mascara. So I've been applying this quite a lot recently. So when it came to mascara this year, my most used and the only 3 I've bought backups for was the Lisa Eldridge Kitten Mascara, which I really love. It's so easy to apply, it separates the lashes, it gives me that bit of length, and it's waterproof. It is a perfect one. I tested it out on holidays and it really worked beautifully in wet weather, warm weather. But it probably was my 3rd most used out of the mascaras I'm showing you. So the second one I've used the most is this one from Swede. This isn't new this year. This is the Swede Cloud Mascara, and this one is in the dark brown. I've really liked using brown mascara, and this is one of my most used. I've nearly finished and I've got a backup, as I have with the Kitten Mascara. Like I said, these are the only ones I've bought backups for. But the one I've probably used the most, which, like I said, my lashes are almost non-existent. I use a serum and they've got so much better. You can see the white at the moment of the primer, so ignore that. But this one from Charlotte Tilbury, the Exaggerized Mascara, gives me lashes you can actually really see. So I know a lot of people struggle with this. I think if you've got longer, thicker lashes, you probably find this a bit too much, and you probably find that it will end up transferring to the top because this really gives you very full lashes. Now, I've nearly reached the end of this. It's starting to get a little bit thick and clumpy, but I'm not quite ready to move to the next one. So I'm hoping I can still use this one. I have actually been using the Swede one more recently. I do need to open my new one very soon, I think, but this one, I loved this from the very first moment I used it, because as soon as I applied it, my eyelashes don't curl up naturally, they don't show up. But as soon as I applied this, I thought I can really see my lashes from that very first coat. So that's how it's looking after the one coat on that eye, so I'll just do the other one. And I can just about go in for a second coat. Now this is a very thick, quite sort of clumpy mascara. Some people might find they can't go in for this second, but I can just about do that. So it's less of a lengthening really, it's more about making your eyelashes fuller, but it makes them really visible, and I feel like I see my lashes in a way that I never normally do when I apply this. It also works brilliantly in wet and hot weather. I tested this out in Croatia. This is the one I took to Croatia, so this one was tested in the rain and heat as well. Probably tested the most, and this one was perfect. I had absolutely no problems whatsoever with this transferring or running, none at all. It lasted all day. But that's how it's looking with 2 coats. One thing I do like to do is when it's fully dried down is go back in with the eyelash curler. So I'll show you how that looks when I have let this dry down. So I'll move on to the lips before we do that. Now I won't be trying this one on, but this has to be one of the best duos of the year for me, and this was from Charlotte Tilbury. The Charlotte Tilbury lip liner, the lip cheat in Fair. It's covered in powder. I managed to get all over it. And the fair shade of the Pillow Talk lipstick, which for my skin tone is absolute perfection. I've done a full review of this when it first released, so I'll just swatch it on the back of my hand. If you want to see me trying it on in full, you will find it with the original launch, which was quite early on in the year, I believe. This lipstick has not left my desk at any point since it launched because it is my most perfect lip shade and lip liner. Here are those two colours there. So if you've ever found that the Pillow Talk is too deep or too brown, this is the most perfect sort of cool tone liner. It matches my lip colour to perfection, so it can be your lips but better, and very not obvious at all. Lasts for hours and hours and hours. I don't think there's a better lip liner on the entire market than this one. But this duo, this one, from what everyday, I'm definitely going to go for something a bit different today. But if I was going to choose my favourite duo, my most used duo, it would be this release here from Charlotte Tilbury. And I won't use this either, but I have to show you because this is a true favourite. And this is from Guerlain. This is the Bee Oil, is it called? The Kiss Kiss Bee Glow, that's it. The Natural Origin Honey Tint Lip Oil. So as a topper, I tend to use this as a topper. You could just use it as a liner and an all over, but I like to use it as a topper mostly. But it does look very pretty on its own. This has, firstly, the best doe foot I've ever used. It is the softest, most gorgeous, cushiony doe foot I've ever tried, and trust me, I tried all of them this year. This feels, I'm so tempted to put it on now, but I'm not going to because I want to show you my top. But this one is the one I've reached for the most as a sort of gloss or oil on top of lipstick, or just on its own for a more simple, no makeup look. It is glorious. I've got this in 2 different shades. And this one's my favourite shade, my most used shade. So this one is Rose Glow, and the other one I have is Lavender Glow. These have stayed on my desk since they launched, which was right at the start of the year. They have not left. They're right at the very front here of my lip gloss section. I will keep them there forever, I think. And I have heard a rumour that we're getting more limited edition shades in it, so I'll definitely be getting one of those if I like the colours. But let's now finish my entire look with my favourite lip product of the whole year, and that was the launch from Fenty. I have absolutely raved about this. I bought every single shade. They are all sitting on my desk. I've got a section there. I don't do this with any other lipstick. I've got every single one of the Gloss Bomb sticks, every shade on my desk there. So I've gone for a fairly simple one today, so I didn't want to take away from the eye look, and this is actually one of my favourites. I also picked up a number of the lip liners. I love these. They are so easy to apply. They're creamy, but they last. I love them. And this is one of my most used shades. This one is called Satin Panty. So the name of the lip liner is traced out. It is a beautiful, beautiful liner shade. I love this. But like I said, it's very, very creamy and very easy to blend out, which I can show you now if I get my brush. So just softening the edge of this using my lip brush here. And this is the Chikuhodo lip brush, if you're wondering. See how easily that just softened out, but it really will last. It locks in for the day. And now for the true magic, which is the Gloss Bomb stick. I love the lip glosses as well. They're all sitting right next to me. My favourite one of the year was probably this one. This one is, what's it called? Frosted Buns. I love this. I'll see if I can squeeze a bit of that in at the end. Let's see if I can. I sometimes do like to layer these on top of each other. This shade is Fenty Glow. It smells fruity and delightful. Look at that. Just look at that finish. It feels so nice, so hydrating, so creamy. It is a lipstick and a lip balm and a lip gloss all rolled into one. It does the job of all of those. I love the packaging. I love the way that every package shows you the colour of the lipstick, so I can just see the colours over there and grab the one I want for today. Fenty Glow is one of my more everyday shades, so I think it goes with so many different looks. The only thing I would say about it that's a negative is it doesn't last very long. It does need to be topped up. I did say I might try a little bit of that Fenty. Where have I put you now? It is too much to add it, you don't need it, but I'm just going to put a little bit of this Frosted Buns here. You can't see it, not really. Maybe see a little bit of the sort of glitter in it. There, you can just slightly see that. That's for real double shine. I've probably got too much on now. But one of the fun things I like doing with that, with this year when I did mix them, was the deepest red from the Fenty Glow Sticks range. This one is a little bit much for me, so I apply this lightly to the whole of the lip and then put this in the middle, and it sort of brings it down and makes it perfect. So that was actually a really fun combination. And this shade is MVP, if you're wondering. I can go back in with my curler now that my mascara is completely dry and see if it'll just curl my lashes up a little bit more. There, can you see how it's brought them up a bit more than on this side? So I'm really trying everything here. I've got the lash serum, which I use every single night. Then I've got the Dior primer. I've got Exaggereyes mascara, which gives me the most impact, and I curl before I start and I curl at the end, and I finally feel like I'm getting lashes, because I don't like to wear false lashes, but this gives me lashes. So that is the way I achieve my most visible lashes. And to be fair, once they've been curled after the mascara is dried, they stay up like this all day. It actually feels quite strange because I can feel them. My lashes are so low, I'm actually aware of them. It's almost like I'm wearing false lashes, but I'm not. So there we go. That is my final look of all of my favourites. The only thing I didn't mention actually was my setting spray. So I should really mention that, seeing as I've got two favourites of the year. And the first one is the Vive setting spray. This one is when I'm looking for more hydration, I'd say. So this one has been one of my most used, and I do already have a backup of that one, which will tell you how much I love it. But my number one of the year is the one from Mario, which launched the same time as his setting spray. I've managed to get so many stains all over this because it's been on holiday with me and everything. But anyway, I'll pop some of this on now. This is an exceptionally fine spray. I love it. But this locks down my makeup better than any setting spray, better than the Charlotte Tilbury one. Nothing has locked my makeup in as well as this. It lasts all day long when you use this, but it's so fine, the mist, you don't feel like it's particularly wet. It dries down really quickly. Like the Vive, you do feel quite wet and it takes quite a long time to dry down, and the spray isn't quite as fine. I just love this. So if you love a fine mist and you would like your makeup to last forever, honestly, this is magic stuff. So there we are, I'm at the end. I've shown you all of my favourites. I've been really looking forward to doing this, and one of my favourite videos I've done so far recently was my 23 favourites. So if you haven't seen that, please check that out. I've done my full face of 23 favourites to see if I still love them as much as I did in 23. So I can't wait now in 25 to come back and do exactly the same and try all of these on again and see how I feel about them. Do I have the same enthusiasm? Have they all stayed on my desk? Because like I said, everything I've shown you, they're all on my desk. They're either in my top drawer or they're sitting right by here on the top of my desk. So will they still be there in 2025? Will they get replaced? Will there be a better bronzer than the Lancome? So will I still be talking about the Westman Atelier Concealer next year as my favourite, or the Yummy Skin from Danessa Myrex? Will the Mario spray and powder still be my top setting sprays and top setting powders? Will Givenchy come back with a winner and make me go back to the Givenchy loose setting powder? So many things I've shown you today have become not just my best of the year, but my best in my entire collection. It's been a fabulous year for me. I found really, really top products. Favourite bronzer in my whole collection was the Lancome. My favourite mascara, definitely this one from Charlotte Tilbury. And favourite concealer, favourite foundation, the Dior stick. It is my number one right now, my absolute number one. And the Lisa Eldridge skin tint, my number one skin tint. They are top, top, top. Not top of the year, top of all time. So 2025 has got a bit of a job on its hands. Can it knock any of these out of the top spot? And I have absolutely loved filming my 23 favourites to see if I still love them in 24. So I can't wait to see in 25 when I look back on this video, do I still love everything that I love today in this video? And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have I included your favourites? Have I missed out some real winners? I'd love to hear which ones have I missed out and which ones have we got in common? That would be really nice to talk about. And this is pretty much my wrap up of 2024 before Christmas anyway. This is my last video showing you all of my favourites, my last favourite video. It's been such a good year, but most of all it's been a good year because I really started to switch to long form content at the start of this year. So this is my first real full year of getting to know you, getting to know what I'm doing on the channel. I've absolutely loved it, but most importantly, I have loved getting to know you, talking to you, hearing your feedback. It's been so special to me, it really has. You really all do mean the absolute world to me, and I couldn't be here without you, so I have to thank you all so very much, honestly. And I can't wait to create more content for you after Christmas and into 2025. So lots of new releases coming up, lots of things to look forward to. I can't wait. But I just really want to thank you all, I really do. And if by any chance you're not part of this community and you're not on my channel, but you are watching this video, please do like and subscribe. We'd love to have you here, we really would. And if you already are, then like I just said, you all mean absolutely everything to me. Anyway, that's enough from me. I really do hope to see you all for my next video. Take care everybody, bye.